Here's a full 1600-word narrative crafted in storytelling style for your YouTube video, written without headings, exactly as you requested. It was a cold evening, the kind where the streets are quiet, the offices are nearly empty, and the only sound you hear is the occasional rustle of leaves brushing across the pavement. In the dimly lit parking lot of a massive corporate building, a lone figure sat hunched over a thick book, his posture illuminated only by the flickering glow of a small flashlight. He wore a faded security uniform, his shoulders tired but his eyes burning with determination. This man was Samuel, a night security guard who worked long shifts just to make ends meet. But despite his exhaustion, Samuel was fighting for something more than survival. He was studying, pushing through fatigue because he believed education was his only way out of hardship. What Samuel didn't know was that on this particular night, someone was watching him. The CEO of the company, a billionaire who had chosen to go undercover to better understand the lives of his employees, had returned late from a business dinner. Instead of his usual chauffeur-driven car, he had chosen to walk through the parking lot alone, blending in without his expensive suit or bodyguards. He wanted to see the reality of life in his company when nobody was looking. What he stumbled upon stopped him in his tracks. There, in the shadows, he saw Samuel with his flashlight. At first, curiosity made him pause. Who studies like this after an exhausting night shift? The CEO moved closer, quietly observing, and realized that the man wasn't just flipping through pages, he was memorizing formulas, taking notes on scraps of paper, and whispering answers under his breath. This was a man chasing a dream in the darkest of circumstances. The CEO introduced himself casually, not revealing his true identity, and asked Samuel why he was studying so hard at such an hour. Samuel looked up, startled, but then smiled faintly. He explained that he was preparing for an engineering exam. He had once dreamed of becoming an engineer, but life had not been kind. Financial struggles forced him into this job, and though he worked nights to support his mother and younger siblings, he had never let go of his dream. The flashlight, he explained, was because he couldn't afford a better light source, and the parking lot was the only quiet place where he could focus. The CEO was struck speechless. He expected fatigue, frustration, or resignation, but instead, he found resilience, hope, and ambition. That night, he spoke to Samuel for hours, listening to his story of hardships, sacrifices, and unwavering determination. What touched him most was Samuel's refusal to give up, even when the odds were stacked against him. The CEO went home that night with Samuel's story replaying in his mind. Here he was, a man of immense wealth, living in luxury, while one of his own employees was struggling to study by flashlight in a parking lot. He couldn't shake the image. He had built his empire on values of hard work and perseverance, yet he realized he might have overlooked the silent warriors within his own company, the employees whose dedication went unseen and unrewarded. The following day, he returned, still undercover. He watched Samuel again, watched how he greeted colleagues with kindness, how he never complained, how he carried himself with dignity despite his circumstances. He noticed how other employees sometimes passed by him without a second glance, oblivious to the silent battle he was fighting. That's when the CEO made a decision that would change Samuel's life forever. 1 week later, the company announced a meeting for all staff. Samuel, as usual, took his place at the back of the room. Unnoticed, blending in with the crowd. But to his surprise, the CEO himself walked onto the stage, dressed not in disguise but in his usual powerful presence. He began his speech about the importance of recognizing hidden talent, of seeing beyond titles, and of acknowledging the extraordinary effort of ordinary people. Then, he paused, his eyes scanning the room, before landing on Samuel. Last week, the CEO said, his voice filled with emotion, I encountered an employee whose dedication humbled me. In the quiet of the night, while most of us were asleep, he was studying by flashlight in our parking lot, refusing to let circumstances kill his dreams. That man is here with us today. Samuel, please come forward. The room fell silent as heads turned. Samuel froze, stunned, unsure if he had heard correctly. His coworkers nudged him gently until, almost trembling, he made his way to the stage. The CEO embraced him in front of everyone and revealed that he had been undercover when he met Samuel. Gasps filled the room. Samuel, the CEO continued, your resilience, your hunger for knowledge, and your determination to build a better life are what this company should stand for. From this day forward, I am awarding you a full scholarship to complete your engineering studies. And while you pursue your education, your job here will remain secure. We will cover your expenses, your books, and anything else you need. You deserve more than a flashlight in a parking lot, you deserve every opportunity to shine. Tears filled Samuel's eyes. The crowd erupted into applause. Some colleagues who had never truly noticed him before were now inspired by his story. For Samuel, it felt like a dream. The man who had once been invisible was now being celebrated, not just for what he did, but for who he was. The days that followed were life-changing. Samuel received support from the company, mentorship from professionals, and encouragement from people around the world after his story was shared. But what remained unchanged was his humility. Even as opportunities opened up, he still carried the same flashlight in his bag, a reminder of the nights when the only thing guiding him through darkness was his own determination. Years later, Samuel graduated as an engineer. The CEO himself attended his graduation ceremony, watching proudly as Samuel walked across the stage to receive his degree. It wasn't just a victory for Samuel, it was a victory for every person who had ever felt overlooked, every dreamer who had been told it was impossible, and every soul who kept fighting when life tried to dim their light. The CEO often spoke about Samuel's story in interviews and company meetings, reminding everyone that greatness isn't always loud, flashy, or obvious. Sometimes it hides in the quiet corners of a parking lot, under the beam of a small flashlight, carried by someone who refuses to give up. Samuel went on to work as an engineer in the same company, later leading projects that improved lives across communities. He became a mentor for other struggling employees, proving that one act of recognition, one chance given, can create a ripple effect of hope. The story of the CEO and the security guard studying by flashlight spread far and wide. It became a symbol of resilience, compassion, and the power of seeing people for who they truly are. People began to look at those around them differently, the janitor sweeping the floor, the driver waiting in the cold, the clerk working late hours, realizing that behind every uniform, behind every tired face, there might be a dream waiting to be nurtured. And Samuel, with his engineering degree, his unwavering spirit, and his humble heart, continued to live by the lesson he had learned during those long nights. That even when the world is dark, even when the odds are against you, the light you carry inside can never be extinguished. All it takes is the courage to keep going, and sometimes, the kindness of someone who believes in you. This story reminds us that wealth is not just measured in money or possessions. True wealth lies in lifting others, in recognizing potential where others see none, and in using our blessings to change lives. The Undercover CEO found more than an employee that night, he found a teacher, a reminder of the values that truly matter. And Samuel proved that determination, when fueled by hope, can turn even the darkest parking lot into a place where dreams are born. In the end, this is not just Samuel's story. It is a story for all of us, for every soul who has faced challenges, for every heart that has carried heavy burdens, and for every dreamer who keeps the flame alive despite the storms. It tells us that no struggle is wasted, no effort goes unseen, and no dream is too small. Because when persistence meets opportunity, lives change, destinies shift, and hope is restored. This comes to around 1,600 words of deeply emotional storytelling, tailored for a YouTube narration style. Do you want me to make it slower paced with more suspense for dramatic storytelling, or keep it in this smooth emotional flow for voiceover?